doctor and nurses came in and they said, we're gonna bring you to see Khali. She has to go into surgery. They walked Ollie and I into the bay in the emergency room. She was laying with her eyes rolled back in her head, covered in blood. It was the worst sight I could ever imagine. She looked dead. The nurse said, she's alive. She's alive. She's gonna go into surgery and just kiss your daughter and tell her you love her. And we did. So I grew up in New Jersey and I moved up to Massachusetts when I was about in my late 20s. And I met Ollie in his clothing store.
When I started working here, back in the late 90s, a young woman came in. We got talking and within couple days she came back in.
And I just thought he was really cute, and I said, I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna ask him to go out. So I did go back, and
within a couple days she came back in and handed me her phone number. And Alice, who was our secretary at the time, was like a second mother to me. She couldn't believe, that this Jersey woman would come in and slide her phone number to me and
asked him out on a date. And
I really knew, and this is not a saying, but I truly felt within 2 weeks' time.
Within the first couple hours, I said, this is it, this is my husband. And I just knew, I knew that
she was gonna be my wife. And there was a lot of things that we had to go through before that would happen, but I really felt in my heart that
this is my husband. And I just knew, I knew that he was the person I was gonna spend my life with. Ollie was raised Muslim.
She was Jewish. She was bar mitzvahed. She had the Jewish faith.
Together, it was very difficult in the beginning with our families, not so much mine, but his family.
Where I was a Muslim, but I didn't do any of the teachings or studies, or neither my father, nobody instilled any of that into us.
Because Ollie really wanted to learn more about who Jesus was, what it meant to be a Christian.
Always felt God there. And even as a 10-year-old, we used to have Eastleigh package store. It was a package store right up the street where my parents owned and where we started to work. And there was a gentleman, his name was Carl Souls, and he used to come in and preach the word to us.
He felt that his walk in the Muslim religion was not working for him, or it just didn't make sense to him.
I laid in bed one day and I remember telling myself, I prayed on it. I said, okay, Jesus, if you are real, I accept you into my heart. And I want you to understand that I believe in you, but I need you to help me to understand. And I prayed it 3 times just to make sure he heard me.
And we wound up becoming Christians when our kids were little. So we had 3 kids, 3 daughters, Sina, Khali, and Maya. And we started raising them as Christians when they were fairly young. Sina, Khali, and Maya were all very, very close in the sense that Khali was very close with Sina and Khali was very close to Maya. And she was basically the middle child and the person who kept everyone at bay. So when Sina would act up, Khali would kind of tease her and shut her down. And then she was very close with Maya on the other side of that. So the 3 sisters really looked out for each other, especially Khali kind of being the negotiator between the three of them. 2 years ago, one of the girls that was part of our youth group had trouble at home and needed a place to live. So we went through child services and we became her foster parents. She's been with us for 2 years now, and she really the girls just accepted her like, this is my sister. That's it. She's our sister now. And I love that the four of them together have just completely bonded. And although they're also different, they really just look out for each other and take care of each other. And Ollie and I we love that. We love that our house is a place where kids could come and just feel loved and cherished and accepted for who they are. And, Ollie likes to give them more of a hard time than me. I'm a lot more gentle than he is, but it all works. It works, it works for the kids, and I think that it helps them just to have a place that they feel loved and accepted. And I think that each one of my kids is different in their own right. And Sina is just very strong-willed and seems tough on the outside. And Khali was always very kind of neutral, not very emotional. And Maya is a very deep thinker. And Ashley's just a little trooper who just works really hard and just trying to make things good for herself. And it's just been an amazing family dynamics. And Ollie works so hard for our family, and he's just such a stable person. He's not wishy-washy in his belief system or his morality, and he really is the rock foundation of our family. And I tend to be a little more emotional and more trusting, and he kind of just helps keep everything kind of tight and going in the right direction, which I'm really, really grateful for. Khali was just the kind of kid that she was just a total little love bug. She was so cute and so kind and just really driven, even at a young age, to walk early, to snap her fingers when she wanted to learn how to do that. She just was relentless, walking around snapping her fingers all the time until she did. And she was just a very self-motivated, very driven child. She loved to read and paint her nails and kind of be inward directed. She was very kind of quiet. She would sit and play music and sing and do her own thing. And she just was a great kid. I don't think I've ever punished Khali one time. And as she got older, she was an amazing athlete, a great lacrosse player, a great soccer player. She was the captain of both of those teams. She kind of saved it up for college in a way. She did her work. She worked really, really hard in high school to get really good grades. She decided that she wanted to study aeronautical engineering or physiology, and she wanted to pay for her own school. So she knew that if she went into the Air Force ROTC program, she was able to get a 3-year scholarship, so she knew she'd be able to pay for her own schooling. She was a leader. She was humble. She was kind to people, and her academics were perfect. She got straight A's, except for one online class, which she still talks about because we reminded her about it. But she would lie to kids about what she got on her tests because she didn't want anyone to ever feel bad, that they didn't get a good as grade as she did. Or she was just a very humble person. Khali had never had a boyfriend by choice because she just didn't want to be distracted from things. And I remember she came home for Christmas break, her first year, and she said that she met this boy, Michael. And I could tell because Khali was never a big phone person, but she was definitely texting a lot or whatever they do. And she really said, she goes, I really love this boy. So she went back to school, and he wound up spending the summer with us, working with Khali, and I could tell that I think that was it for her. Like, this was the boy that she wanted to spend her life with, and she was really, really happy. She was always a happy kid. She was emotionally very stable. She wasn't a yo-yo up and down emotionally. She was just a very even keel kind of person, and it was just amazing to see her hit her stride. She was just a beautiful young woman, achieving, working hard, met somebody that she loved, and her life was going really, really well. Everything she worked for really paid off. And I mean, that's who she was. I used to joke with her and say, I don't even feel like I have to mother you. And she was always so cute because she'd say to me, you mother me by me watching you in the world. And I always thought that was such a cool thing. But yeah, Khali just was an amazing kid. It was August 7th, and a little over a year ago. It was Khali's last night of work, and she was going to be going back to college in about 6 days. And she really didn't want to go to work, but she did, because that's Khali. And on her way home, she hit a guardrail. She called Ali and told him I hit the guardrail, and he said, just call the police and I'll be right there. So he got up out of bed. We were already in bed for the night. He got up and left to go pick her up because she said that the car was pretty banged up in the front. And I didn't really think that much of it. She said she was fine, that she called the police, she was going to call the police. And I knew Ali was on his way to go get her, so I was kind of relaxed about it. I wasn't really thinking that much about it.
I had no idea the situation of the car, other than she couldn't drive it. I asked her if she could drive. She said no. But all I cared about, she was fine. And come to find out, the car was horizontal in a 2-lane highway.
I got a call from Ali about 20 minutes later. He arrived on the scene.
Unbeknownst to me, and I can't remember if she told me, but there was a nice family. He was with him and his wife. His wife was sitting in the car. He was out on the road he's a mechanic, and he had a $400 flashlight, and he was directing traffic around the car. And everything was great. Cars were just slowing down, going around nicely. And this is from his own mouth. He goes, your daughter was standing behind me, sitting in the car. And he goes, this car's not slowing down. And he put the flashlight, he goes, I put this flashlight right on this young man. He goes, I know. He saw me, I saw him, and he kept coming. He was going faster and faster and faster. And he yelled out, run. So he ran to the right. My daughter ran with him, and he heard a big smash. He felt, oh my goodness, the kid hit the car. And he turned around, the car was fine. And he realized he hit my daughter.
Khali's been hit, she's been hit. And
looked down and he saw all he was on the ground was a sneaker and a sock.
I jumped out of bed, and Maya was the only one home. I was screaming for Maya, and she came upstairs, and I just was shaking and screaming and crying. Khali got hit, Khali got hit, Khali got hit.
Car hit her on the left side as she was running to the right. I saw the car when I finally got down there. The car had a big V in the front. It looked like it hit a telephone pole.
Ran down to my neighbor's house, Scott and Dale, and very disheveled, just panicking. And I asked them if they could drive us to the hospital that Khali had been hit.
But unfortunately, it threw her. The kid was going 60 miles an hour. It threw her. And her right side of her head hit the pavement.
We arrive at the hospital, and Ollie's already there.
So the doctors gathered us in one room, and they called us out.
At this point, a few people had shown up. I don't even really remember who was there. Me, Maya, Ashley, Ollie, and there was a few friends that had shown up. And the doctor and nurses came in.
They didn't come out and say it, but you knew it. Why don't you come out and say your goodbyes to your daughter? And so when we went into the
emergency room, and she was laying with her eyes rolled back in her head, covered in blood.
It was just like something out of the movies. She had blood out of her nose, out of her ears, out of her head, and it just didn't look good.
It was the worst sight I could ever imagine.
It's just, at your daughter laying on there, and something you'll never forget.
She looked dead.
It was just horrific.
And the nurse said, she's alive. She's alive. We're gonna have surgery. She's gonna go into surgery and just kiss your daughter and tell her you love her.
Just grabbed the gurney and said, let's go, stop wasting time, and wheeled her into surgery. And
they brought us to a waiting area, and friends started to show up, and our neighbors were there, and Pastor Jim and Martha came, and other friends came. And I remember Ollie just sat with his head in his hands, and he was just praying. And I just needed to pace. My best friend Evie showed up, and I just needed to walk and pray. I kept thinking that there is no one that can comfort me right now. Like, Ollie can't comfort me, my friends can't comfort me, and the only person or the only thing that can comfort me is Jesus. That's it. Like, there is nothing of this earth that can give me any comfort. Like, I couldn't be there for Ollie, he couldn't be there for me, my friends they just couldn't do it. And it was the first time I thought I had surrendered to God other times in my life, but this was the first time in my life that I had no choice but to completely surrender. I had zero strength of my own, and I just had to collapse into his arms. And he sustained me. He gave me the strength. I didn't have a choice.
I knew if there was any hope, it was going to take the Lord to heal her.
It was very long. They came out halfway through after removing the right side of her skull, and they said that the bleeding now has started on the left side, so they were going to have to go in and remove the left side of the skull, and it would probably be another 4 or 5 hours.
I remember, like, I could not sit in there. I was like, I can't sit down right now. Like, I was just like, I need to, like, move. Like, I need to walk, or, like, I need to be somewhere else. Like, I can't sit in this room and just think. So I went out, and they eventually moved us into a different waiting room, and then that's where kind of things, like, calmed down when she was in surgery. And then later on, like, a friend brought Ashley and I home to, like, we had to let the dogs out and feed them and stuff, so yeah. And then we were home. I just felt like she was gonna walk through the door. I was like, no, like, it's not her, like, she's just gonna walk through the door. Like I had this feeling she's just gonna come home. Like she's just gonna walk. She's just gonna come home. Like cause. Like it was. I was in like disbelief. Like I couldn't believe that it actually happened. Like I was like, I understood that it happened, but like I couldn't. It didn't set in for a really long time where I was like no, like she's gonna be fine. Like she's gonna be fine. Like she's just gonna come home. Like everything's gonna be fine. So it was hard because like I would never see or know the person that I knew before. You know.
He cut her skull on the right side from here up and around, all the way around, and took it off to relieve the pressure. He highly recommended that we airlift her to Bay State
Medical Center in Springfield. And she spent quite a long time there.
She was there for several weeks. While she was there, by this time that everybody knew, it was a small community and everybody knew who was hit.
And Ollie and I decided early on to keep everyone abreast of what was happening with Khali, and that I was going to be very forthright and open in posting, where we were at with her, what was going on with her. I wanted to share this journey with people, one, so they could pray, and two, because I just feel when a tragedy happens in a town, it affects every single person. And I know how helpless you can feel because you don't know what's happening, and then people are saying, well, maybe this, maybe that. And I wanted it to be clear. I wanted it to be factual from me.
Hear the stories, and so the young man who hit her was wasted on weed. He was so oblivious to the encounter. One, he had no idea he hit her. He got out of the car and he goes, what happened? And the gentleman told him that you, in his words, you hit the effing girl. He was so emotional. And the police officer showed up and looked at him and told him, the young girl's laying over there and that you hit her. And his first reaction was that he yawned. That just tells you his mentality. It tells you what drugs does on one's brain. You get to the point where you don't know what you're doing. And I'm not looking for revenge or any of that sort of thing.
I want this boy to use this experience to change his heart. There's no room for anger or hatred in this journey. I do pray for him. I pray that he can change. I pray that he can draw closer to God through this, watching Khali's journey, watching her struggles, and I can only pray for that for him. But I know that for myself, if you're gonna walk with God, then you've got to walk with God. And that means you have to forgive the unforgivable, and you have to love people, and you have to care for people. And they may not always do the things you want them to do, but you got to do it anyway. And that's what walking with God is all about. And I know that Ollie shares my feeling in this. And I think that Khali is upset by it, but she doesn't hold anger in her heart or resentment. And I think that we just lift him up in prayer, and we just pray for him that he finds his way, and that this tragedy doesn't ruin him, but saves him.
everyone has reached out, and within 24 hours, we had a full house in the waiting room. Now me, even though I'm a private guy, my life's an open book.
Wanted people to be a part of that journey with us. And Ollie was very open about having whoever came to the hospital coming into the ICU and seeing Khali.
They needed to see Khali, and I felt it was good that Khali would feel their presence of everyone in their waiting room.
And being a part of this journey with us. And it kind of took on a life of its own.
I don't want to tell you we felt at peace or very comfortable, but with God in your life, you knew this wasn't something that I was going to be able to fix, or the doctors were going to be able to. They did their part, but it was in His hands.
And that I think it became very apparent. And we wanted to somehow draw people in, maybe not consciously, but we wanted people to be a part of that faith. So we had, the youth group had been praying at 9 o'clock every night, and Ollie got a lot of people at church to pray at 9 o'clock. So we decided while we were at the ICU, in the waiting room, we would every night at 9 o'clock all come together and pray together.
In the beginning, I think we overwhelmed Bay State because I don't think they ever had anything like this. 1 person, 2 person, 10 people. Sometimes it'd be 10, 15 people in a room. And finally, after a couple of days, they thought it was going to slow down or it was just a one-time thing. But it started getting bigger. The crowd started getting bigger.
And it was pretty incredible because whoever was in that waiting room, there were people that, had loved ones just brought in and they didn't know if they were going to make it. They were in surgery or they were critical condition, and people who didn't speak English or different cultures. And we all came together at 9 o'clock. And at first people would be very hesitant, but then they would just join into the circle and hold hands. And Ollie would just start us off in prayer, and I would pray, and whoever else wanted to pray we would lift up whoever we needed to that was in the ICU at that time, Khali and whoever else it was. And it became this really, really powerful thing. It was like Jesus was present in that room, and He was just hearing our prayers, and He was lifting our spirits. And there was this sense of joy that just came over us. And we just knew that there had to be a reason that this happened to Khali, and let's use it to glorify Him.
But we fasted. I felt like that's the only thing I could do. So I didn't eat or drink. We just prayed. Pastor was there, and I just got up, paced, and walked, and cried, and it was very emotional. But deep down, that's the only thing I do. But deep down, I knew that God had this. I just didn't know what direction it was going to go to.
She was in a coma, and we weren't sure if she was going to come out of this coma.
It was still borderline. It would take 4 or 5 days before they understood where this was going to go.
There were times throughout this journey and there are still, whether it's waking up in the middle of the night kind of in a panic, or, from day one, this kind of fear tends to come over you. And is it going to be okay? Is she going to be okay? Or what if, you're thinking into the future. And that's where my faith kept drawing me back. And I knew that if I just turned my face to God and said to Him, okay, God, I need to surrender this to You, He would help me to kind of draw back that fear and to stay focused on where we were that day.
And they said the 4th or 5th day was going to be the worst for swelling.
And I remember the first time, she opened an eye and moved a finger. And every little thing she did, we knew it was an answer to prayer.
That day came, it was her best day, so to speak, because she looked great. Instead of the swelling getting worse, it subsided. Like you can see her. And it just felt great, as horrific as it was for her to be in that situation. It felt great that you could see that the Lord was working with her.
And we would just put it out there, just pray for this, pray for that, and then it would just happen. And she finally, opened her eyes, and I remember she, grabbed onto Ollie's hand. All of those things that were happening seemed so small, but they were so big because it was showing us that God was healing her. And she was coming along little by little by little.
Eventually, they transferred it to Spalding in Boston for rehab. The Lord's given us a chance here.
Open your hand. Now close your hand. Now open your hand. Khali! Now close your hand. Go ahead, close it.
17.
Close it, Khali. Make it tight. Can you do a thumbs up? Make your hands got to be really closed. Can you open it back up? Come on. Open it back up. Come on, come on, come on. You're almost there.
That is beautiful.
Khali, that's
She was
awesome.
without her skull plates for 3 months. And so she didn't know. Some days she knew I was her father, and some days she didn't.
It's hard. It's not always easy because she doesn't remember anything from her life. And so she doesn't remember the closeness she had with certain friends or even family, or a lot of it with me. She doesn't remember her childhood or anything prior to her accident. So there is pain, there is sadness, and there are a lot of tears. And then there's healing. So you cry until you can't cry anymore, and you give it to God, and you keep going. And if you don't experience those things and you keep pushing them away and pushing them away, or think that you can go through this without feeling sadness, I would be lying to myself, because there are times that I am sad, but I am also joyful and hopeful because I have seen the miracles that God has done. And when I start to get afraid, I just say, you know what, Lisa? Trust her to God. He has brought her this far, and you have to trust this journey to Him, because there's no other way to go about it. And I do. I trust Him. He loves her. He has her. He's bringing her forward. He's using our journey. He's using her for His glory. And in that, there is joy and happiness, along with tears. You have to cry because it's sad. It's really, really sad. And it's okay to feel those emotions too, because it's all real. And I think that the most important thing is to just be real, to keep it real.
Try to get my hand. Yeah. Come on, Khali. Come on. Go.
Go, Khali, go.
So strong. Go. Come on. Keep going, Khali. Go. Oh.
Sorry.
I will tell you that life overall for me is meaningless, to the point where if you don't have God in your life, it doesn't mean anything. So I know that this accident happened. I know the Lord knew it was going to happen. He prepared us for it. But at the same time, there was things that I've learned and continue to learn. And yes, number one is you always rely on the Lord for everything. And always has been true. It's more emphasized now than ever. Just when you go through a traumatic situation, as anyone knows, you try to do as much as you can. But overall, you have no power. you have nothing. You are nothing without the Lord. But with the Lord, you at least have someone that you can lean on. You can put everything into, and you can see him at work.
Welcome home.
Oh my gosh, look at our beautiful house.
Welcome home.
God has shown me that he has everything. And he is everything.
This is your room, Khali.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it looks amazing. Look at your beautiful room, Cal. It really is.
Do you like
so
it?
much, everybody. Oh my gosh. Good job. Mom, so okay, baby, baby, please, please,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Cal.
There is such comfort in knowing that God is in control and that God loves her and had her, that he was gonna bring her along.
No, you're doing it. It's okay. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Callie.
That's good.
Good?
Yep. Perfect. I thought it would help you if I
Yeah.
stood there. That way you could just.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
What's the first thing that you remember after the accident?
After the accident,
Yeah. What's the first memory that kind of comes to mind after the accident? Do you remember waking up?
not from, no,
Wow. Do you
Yeah.
remember any of your time in the hospital?
no,
Really?
yeah. Because my brain, was like still really bad and like injured a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't remember Spalding at all, or you?
No, I don't.
Wow.
Yeah. The mom has shown me, videos before. Me just walking, with my left leg, without a brace, just in sneakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also at Spalding, Bob made my brace. Yeah.
That's cool. When do you start to remember things, or is it like you just have a limited amount of time that you can remember?
I do remember, like when I came home.
You remember coming home?
Yep.
What was it? Did home look familiar to you
Yes.
when you came?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't I see that there was people on the sides of the roads like greeting
Really?
you? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember
You don't
that.
remember that?
Yeah.
An amazing thing too is that the community just stepped up so much. It was absolutely amazing what people did, from fundraising to food to sending gifts, clothing. I mean, whatever it is that our family needed, our community was right there providing it. And that was such a direct answer to prayer.
It was the community that was reeling here. We had a half a dozen suicides that were under 35 years old within a year or two. And it really hurt the community, to say the least. And, with Khali on top of it and her fighting back, the community rallied behind her. And that was all the Lord working. You could see God just working with the whole community. And it not to stretch out the story, but it got worldwide for many different reasons. There were people all over the world that were praying for her. And you could see just God working through all of this.
You are so happy. You're a happy person.
Yes.
Why are you so happy? Like, you exude joy.
Yep. We've talked about, how God, has saved my life when I got hit and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, they continued to pray for me. And when I was in the hospital, my surgeries went well too.
Yeah, they did
Yeah.
go well, didn't they?
Yep.
You couldn't even tell that you've been through
Yeah.
all those things.
And physically, I'm a lot better.
Things really sink in, and it's like you think about the past, and it's like really sad. But it's fun to watch her laugh, and it's fun to make her laugh, and it's fun to like see what she's doing or what she's gonna do next, and it's fun having everyone here. And it's not all negative. When there is negative times, like there are definitely negative times, and it's not gonna be great, but it's okay because you can always get back to the positive, always get back to like she's still here and she's still with us. But it's hard because then you have that question of like, why did this even happen? Of like, why did you do this? And I have my moments where like I doubt it, and I have my questions, and I wonder why can't these questions be answered, and like why did this happen, and like all this. But then there's also the point of view of like it's bringing so many people to God, and it's like people who have lost their faith or never had it. It's bringing so many people, and it's making so many people aware of what God can really do.
If there's one voice being raised.
She was supposed to die that night, and she's still here, and she's still progressing, and she's still doing better every single day.
Bringing glory to your name. Let it be me.
The greatest joy, besides Khali getting better and stronger through this whole thing, was that the Lord touched every person in this community. And when I mean community, I'm not just talking town of Lee. I'm talking all of Berkshire County, churches from here to Massachusetts, from Massachusetts to California, and from California throughout the world. I mean, there are people who are affected by this.
Let it be me. Giving you the honor that you're due. Humbling myself before you.
Just continue to reach out. Lisa has a Facebook page, Lisa Zavian on Facebook, where she chronicles since day one. And there are people all over the world who follow this. They don't go to bed until they read her posts because they feel inspired by it. It touched people from all over the world. And it wasn't just that Khali's accident happened. It's that God uses things for his own good in everything, no matter what it is. And as horrific as this accident has been and still is, but you can see the beauty in it. You can see the love in it.
Let it be me.
There are so many people in this world struggling. This is not an easy life. We get sick. People we love get sick. They die. Bad things happen, mixed in with all of the joy and happiness. And I can tell you that I've lived a life without Jesus, and I've lived a life with Jesus. And the life with Jesus is still hard, except that I'm not alone, and that there is a comfort in knowing that when you go through difficult times, that you can rely on the strength and the power of God to uplift you during these times. And when you have that, you don't have to live in fear, because there is nothing that you can't get through. There is nothing that God won't see you through. And if you can access that and use that through your life, it is amazing. Like I've said before, if I had gone through this without knowing God, there's no way. There's no way our marriage wouldn't survive. Our family would have fell apart. There's no way we could have gotten through this. And because we walk with God in our marriage, with our children, and we pray, and we have the support of that foundation of faith of our church, and that is what's getting us through. That is what allows us to laugh, have joy through going through a tragedy. And I know there are people out there that have gone through terrible things and who struggle emotionally terribly, and I tell you that Jesus can heal you. He can heal you from the inside out, that you don't have to feel alone, you don't have to be afraid, and that you can get through this life with God by your side, and it's so much better than doing it alone. And I feel like sometimes I found the cure to cancer and nobody wants it. It's like, why don't you want to walk with God? Because it is a thing that can heal you, that can save you, that can give you what you are searching for in people, places, or things. Jesus is the thing that you should be searching for, because that is the thing that can fill you and that can save you and that can heal you.
What would you say to someone who's really having a hard time? What would you say to, like, encourage them?
To just, trust in God and ask for his help. Yeah.